the town of Bremen. So as you guys are walking to the docks, like I said before, the lake, it's called Mer du Walden, is this large lake that's, several of the towns are surrounding it. But the lake, for the most part, is frozen over. And in fact, the small fishing ships that are there, many of them are iced and just frozen in blocks of ice and can never get them out. But some of the fishermen have chipped away at the ice and freed their boats and have pulled them out into the lake. And it's early in the morning, somewhere around 9 o'clock. The sun is starting to come up, probably, but it's still very dim. Clouds fill the sky and you guys can't see the sun at all, but you can tell it's a little bit of light. It's almost as if you were going in the darkness with like a flashlight at this point. But as you guys have made your way to the dock, you see the guy that's hired you, Grinsk Barrowborn. He is fussing over two boats that are freed from the ice. And as you advance, actually where we stopped last time was, you notice one of the boats had a giant piece of it missing near the top. It looks kind of like a giant bite. But as all of you advance towards him, he looks up from the boat and he smiles a big smile. Hello, my friends. Hello. Ready to get started?
And you said there was no monsters out there.
Ingrid says, "Oh, no, of course not. Of course not. No monsters at all. That's just a tall tale, a wives' tale. This is just some damage to the boat. I wouldn't worry about this at all."
Hopefully, we'll be taking the other one. I don't know if we need two boats. Do you think we need two, both of them?
I think you could all fit in one. It'll be a little tight accommodations, but you're all friends, right?
Best friends, yes, that's right.
Very
I'm
good.
sure
I've
it'll work
got
out.
enough tackle here for 3 people to fish. Assume you're all familiar with how to fish.
No.
Well, it's very easy. He gets together a bit of tackle and he shows you how to do it. Essentially, he doesn't have fishing poles. It's pretty much tying a lure to the end of a rope or to the end of a fishing line and just dropping it in the water. There's really nothing more sophisticated than that, really.
It doesn't look too complicated.
Oh no! I've been fishing on these waters since I was just a wee boy. I'm sure that you could handle it.
So then we'll be fine, right, everybody?
Sure.
I'm sure we'll make do.
Well, you can decide which boat you'd like to take. And he points to the two. This one, the one that's damaged. And he says, "This is the Burly Ram. Don't worry. She's not exactly the most beautiful ship that I have, but she's good enough. She'll do a good job." And he points to the other that looks newer, has less damage. And this is the Prawn Goat.
Are you letting us decide?
Well, of course.
I do not know much about boating, so I will allow you to choose for me. I will trust your judgment, friend.
Well, there's the matter. I didn't want to bring it up, but since you'll be taking my boats on the ice, well, there's the matter of insurance. You see, and he points to the newer boat, the Prawn Goat is, well, I'm quite proud of her. She's quite sturdy. However, what I've noticed is people in the past who have borrowed my boats don't exactly know how to handle them on the ice and they come back damaged. So, if you take the Burly Ram, I won't charge you an insurance fee. But if you take the Prawn Goat, let's say, leave me 1 gold as insurance.
Friend, are we not doing favor for you to get fish from ocean? I
Yes,
guess lake.
and I
So
will
maybe,
pay you handsomely
ma-
for them.
but it seemed like maybe price you pay us for fish was less than market value. Maybe we say all good by you waiving this insurance fee.
And he kind of starts to scratch his beard. Well, it's not exactly a discount. don't you give me a persuasion check, Rorgar? Wow, crushed it. All right, you seem like a very honorable type person. I can tell by the way you comport yourself. Let's just say, I'll trust you not to damage my boat, okay? If it comes back with any damage, then we'll have to talk.
If your boat is damaged, it is not my fault. It is the will of Bahamut. You have nothing to fear, friend.
And does your friend Bahamut have any gold?
Oh, he has a vast treasure trove. But you must take it up with him personally if you want to have your share.
Ah, all right. And as he starts leading you guys to the two boats, or to the boat you're taking, he says, "Oh, and one last small bit, something I should say, a bit of a disclaimer. Traveling on the lake is, of course, something very dangerous, and any harm that comes to you or your party or your personal possessions is in no way my fault or liability. And any fatalities that may incur on my boat, of course, I cannot be held responsible for them. You agree? Yes, of course you do. By taking the boat out on the water, accept all responsibilities and harm thereto. So." Have safe travels.
And Rorgar will look at everyone else. He spoke very quickly there. I'm not sure I made out details.
I think he said it's safe to go. It's all good.
Garden just walks past everyone towards the boat.
Perfect. And yeah, Rorgar will get on the boat.
I will follow Guardian and Rorgar as well.
We'll all head on to the boat.
And as you all step on the boat, you notice it looks fairly sturdy. You know, it's made out of good materials, and it seems to be very steady as you all get on. Guardian, as you step on the boat, you notice the boat sinks in the water quite a bit. It's not sinking or anything. It's still going to make it on the water, but you notice your weight pushes it down considerably.
Yeah, he just moves on. Doesn't faze him.
We're not taking this guy. Let me get rid of it here. But as you guys pull away, these are actually rowboats, so one or two people are going to actually have to row the boats out into the water. But the boat that you have, if you've noticed, there is a, well, I don't know if it's visible. Let me change that. But the boat does have hit points. Yeah, you guys should be able to see it. But basically, if the boat takes damage, it's possible that it could sink. It's not an entirely invulnerable entity, so it's just something to keep in mind that if anything happens to the boat, it could sink, and these are freezing waters. But as you push away from the dock, Grinks kind of waves to you as you all pull out into the water. The water of Mare Duwalden is quite calm. You don't really hear anything. There's not any birds or seagulls or anything like that as far as you can tell. There really aren't many boats out on the water at all, and in fact you can't see any being pushed away from Bremen. In the distance you see some boats that are probably coming from one of the neighboring 10 towns, say something like Targos, which is just across the waterways, but you don't see anyone fishing near Bremen. And in fact, you guys are kind of the only ones that are. But as you begin to push off, let me know who's going to be rowing, who's going to take the helm.
So we can see in the distance some of the other 10 towns.
You can. They're just points of light really on the horizon. So Targos is just right across the lake, and Targos you can kind of make out. There's a wooden wall that surrounds the town. You can very vaguely make it out. You see a lot of lights in the water. Targos is kind of famous for other fishing vessels being there, so it's probably fishermen that are coming out in the water. And way off in the distance, you can see faint other points of light from further across the lake, but that's about all you can see.
I think Rorgar will volunteer to row.
Virion just looks over at Gerdian and assumes that he will start rowing.
Guardian has no expression to give.
I'll take the helm. Or I guess maybe on a boat this size, the rudder? I don't know. I don't know how to sail.
Yes, friends, this is first time for me on body of water. Very fun. Stomach feels very queasy.
Are we setting sail?
And as you guys begin to push off with your oars, so Elijah, I'm going to need you to make a wisdom check for me. You don't have a proficiency with water vehicles, do you?
Oh, of course not.
So what happens is you guys push off into the water. Laja, you notice immediately it's still very dark, as I said, in the morning anyway, but on the lake itself, the water is almost black. And as you get closer and closer, you see some darker shapes in the water. And then just as the boat is almost on top of them, you see what they are. It's actually ice floes. And you manage to steer away from them, but you're kind of navigating through them as they're very close. And one comes by very closely, and I'll say, Guardian, your oar, as it's dipping into the water, catches one of the ice floes, and the ice actually snaps off a small portion of the oar. Not enough to really make it useless, but just kind of to chip it off. And you guys all realize that while this ice looks sort of harmless, it's actually very not. It's frozen, almost like small razor blades in the water. And then recognizing that, Laja, you look up and you see the water is filled with these ice floes. So you're going to have to navigate through them. And unfortunately, you can't see them until you're almost on top of them. But you're still kind of close to the town of Bremen. I'm going to leave it to you guys to tell me when you'd like to fish, how far you'd like to go out, anything like that. It's totally up to you.
Well, how far were we told out does this monster usually show up at?
Well, the story, Guardian, was, at least the lady in the tavern, was that people are staying out of the lake because so many people are just dying or disappearing or being injured when they travel into the water. No one has decided on a certain point to where the monster, if it exists, where it hangs out. Most people are just staying out of the water entirely.
Okay.
In which case, we probably don't have to go out that far.
If we're seeing fishing boats from the other towns, then that means whatever is affecting this village is localized. It's not traveling, so hopefully that means we don't have to go too far. Rogar has no intention to try to fish. He's here clearly to slay a monster.
Virian will dip a line in the water to see what happens.
Now, if we're fishing here, Guardian's just gonna pull out a small little woodworking knife and a piece of wood and start carving on it.
Yes, a friend, if you happen to pull monster out of water with that rod, let me know and I will slay it for you.
All right, will do.
Varian, just as you're beginning to pull out the fishing line and drop it in the water, you guys hear a call from just beyond you. There is another boat that has made its way up to you, and even though it had some lights, it has like a small lantern hanging from the bow of the ship. You almost didn't see it until you were on top of it, but of course, Laja, you're very concentrating on the water and the ice flows that are surrounding you. But ahead of you, you hear someone say, "Ahoy there! How goes it?"
With the
Oh,
current of
reeling
the
in-
water.
No, he's in a small rowboat himself.
No luck yet. How are you faring over there?
"Oh, And as he's exclaiming, he kind of pulls back his hood a bit, and you can see he's bundled from head to toe in furs to the point to where it's hard to even tell what he is. But as he pulls back his hood, you can see he appears to be human. He's got a very full beard. It's covered in snow. He's obviously been out here for a while. But apart from that, it's hard to tell much else about him. His boat is filled with fishing lines, and he actually has a net. And he says, "Good morning for the fishing, eh?"
Yeah, nothing beats a cool morning. You getting a lot of nipples over there?
"Oh, not yet, not yet. Thought I'd come over to the Bremen side and see what's biting this morning. Hey, you! Hey, you!" And he's pointing to you, Guardian. "You might want to take off your armor. You fall in this water, you sink to the bottom."
Guardian's just gonna grab his helmet for a second, like, it is best I don't.
"Well, I hate to tell you, friend, but I've staked this area for myself. I'm gonna throw up my nets here. Why don't you head up north a little further ways? Plenty of fish for everyone."
Guy, we can't encroach on this guy's secret fishing hole. That's fish code.
Sorry, I lost sound after I told him I couldn't remove my helmet. What did he say?
He's basically trying to urge you guys to move your boat somewhere else because he's sort of staked this area as his own fishing spot.
We're not here to collect fish en masse. We're simply here to investigate the appearance of what is believed by the village to be a monster.
And he laughs. Of course, you must come from Bremen. They're convinced some sort of monster's in these waters. Scared them all off the lake."
Indeed.
Have you seen anything like that?
No, only monster I know of here in the Tin Towns is me wife, back in Tagos.
Your wife is monster? Is she evil?
Well, I'd say she is. She's got a
Well-
mighty temper.
Uh, uh, sorry. Um, Rorgar, for a second, he's like thinking like, oh, a monster to slay, an evil monster, and then he realizes, oh, he's probably joking. Friend, are you joking about wife monster? Because I do not understand humor, but I do want to kill evil monsters.
And he points a very thickly gloved hand because he's bundled up quite heavily to his mouth, and he smiles, and you see like to the side he's actually missing a few teeth. He's like, "Yeah, she did that to me last year. Hit me with a paw."
If she is legitimately evil monster, I will kill her. It is not this is not me being friendly or joking. I will kill her. So please.
You're kind of scaring me over there, friend. Well, I don't think
Good.
you need to murder her.
Okay, then I will not murder your wife. Consider it favor.
And anyway, we aren't too familiar with these waters. Is the ice up north thicker than it is here? Because it already seems quite dangerous for inexperienced helms people like ourselves.
Oh, sorry, love. It doesn't get any better. North or south or west or east, no matter where you go. Welcome to the Tin Towns. Something's always trying to kill you.
Well, if everybody else is in favor, I don't mind going north.
Friend, if you see any sign of monster on water, at least scream before you die so we know where to look.
Will do, mate. And also, if you ever find yourself in Targos, look me up. I'll buy you a drink. And don't tell me wife if you see me with another lady. You know,
Jesus.
it's some of these nights, of course, gets quite cold on the lake, if you know what I mean.
I do not.
I think this guy might be the real monster of the lake. He's actually hogging all the fish for himself. We might have to look into taking him out. He's ruining the entire economy of this town.
What's your business is your business. But like my friend here said, if you see any signs of any creatures that seem out of the norm, just call, I suppose, and we'll hear you across the water.
All right, love, will do. He turns around and grabs one of his nets and throws it in the water. And he starts singing a song.
We'll take our boat some distance north then before we start fishing.
All right. So, Virion, you're not able to throw your line in as Laja turns the boat north and starts heading away.
All right. I'll reel it back in.
But Laja, as you're turning into the water and moving north, if you can make another wisdom check for me.
We'll see how this goes. Not bad.
Apparently, Laja is just a natural born sailor because, again, you've managed to move the boat through the ice floes with no problems at all.
I think this might be a good spot.
Looks good to me. I'll look around for any fishermen in the waters who might try and sneak up on us and ruin our fishing spot, and then drop my line in.
Virion, as you begin to do that, as you drop, get the line ready, put the weight on the end and start to drop it in, you notice that there's a ripple disturbing the surface of the lake, and it causes your boat to bob a little from side to side. And you see a large mass gliding through the dark water below. You know it's not an ice floe because the ice floes actually poke up to the top, but this is actually larger than any of the ice floes you've seen, and it's below the water, and it glides past you.
Could I check and see if it seems familiar to the fish that we were eating at the tavern the night before?
Sure. Give me a nature check, please.
Ooh.
It's intelligence nature. Oh, very good. This looks like a plesiosaurus.
Yes. Guys, I don't want to alarm anybody, but I'm pretty sure there's a plesiosaurus right underneath our boat. I know not everyone will be familiar with those, but I am. And that could be bad.
You are correct. I have no idea what that is.
Just at that moment, it breaches the water a bit. You don't see anything other than just fins, and a fin kind of slaps up a huge bit of water onto the boat, and you guys all jump back as this freezing cold water is splashed on you, and it disappears back in the water.
Could this
That-
be the monster that the people in town were referring to?
If it was hostile, it would have attacked us. It is most likely a creature, as I mentioned before, in its hunting grounds.
Could I use my divine sense? That'll let me know if there's any celestial fiend or undead within 60 feet.
Sure. You don't detect anything within 60 feet.
Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. Okay, good.
But Virion, if you'd like, you could just ignore it and continue to fish if you want.
Yeah, I'll cast out and see what happens.
So when you cast out, you drop the line in the water, the weights, pull it down. If you can make a wisdom check for me, or a survival wisdom check. Let's see what happens. Unfortunately, you don't catch any fish.
Oh.
You catch a
I'll reel it.
plesiosaurus, though.
So over a period of an hour, this is you, Virion, trying to fish, and you don't catch anything. The plesiosaurus, you see the dark shape kind of staying nearby. It disappears sometimes, and then it comes back up, occasionally splashing water as it gets closer to the surface. But it's not gotten too close to the boat apart from that first encounter. While Virion is fishing, is anyone else going to try?
Yeah, if we're staying still for like an hour, I'll give it a try too.
Yeah, again, dropping a
I'll
line in
cast
the
a net.
Yeah, dropping a line in the water. You actually guys don't have any nets. You just have fishing lines. He didn't equip you that well.
He gave us
Okay.
line, bait,
Of course.
and what? Hooks, I guess.
Yeah, it's just
I
basically
throw my
hooks on
hand
you.
axe.
Your hand axe in the water.
No, no. So survival wisdom.
Yeah, survival wisdom.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Okay.
also don't get any bites at
don't-
all, Rogar.
We have 3 lines, so
Yeah, 3.
would you prefer to do it, or would you like me to?
I don't think we
I
can hear you,
think
Shizno.
Rorgar spends most of the time just untangling the line.
So I didn't hear who you're talking to. You cut off just saying the names. So I wasn't
Oh,
too sure.
sorry. I was saying, would Guardian prefer to do the last one, or should I?
Oh, you can. Guardian's busy whittling away at a piece of wood.
Well,
Nick,
I tried.
Laja also gets no bites as well. So you guys are sitting there for an hour with your lines in the water and not a nibble at all.
This hole's a bust.
Maybe that's why we were told to come over here.
Like I told you, that guy's the scourge of the lake.
I'm gonna put my hand in the water and just wiggle around my fingers. How big was that thing we saw, by the way, Jam?
So the plesiosaurus is a large creature. So lengthwise, it's probably huge. Let me see if I get any direction on how large it is. Not exactly. I think he's probably about 30 feet long altogether.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just wiggle my fingers in the water, see if anything happens.
And then as you're doing that, Guardian, you notice everyone having a hard time with their fishing line. Like Rogar's somehow managed to tangle himself up in his fishing line. He's got like the hook stuck in one of his scales somehow instead of in the water. And everyone else is just silently waiting for something. But as you dip your hands in the water, it's frigid. It's super, super cold. And actually, when you pull your hand back up, Guardian, there's a little bit of ice that's formed on your fingers. But the plesiosaurus doesn't get closer to the boat, and then after some time, you guys don't see its dark shape in the water anymore.
I think a new spot might be in order for us on this fishing trip.
Hmm.
Where would you like to head?
If we look around, I know it's dark, can we see any kind of like enclaves that we can like tuck into or something like that?
Not necessarily. I think you guys have moved towards the middle of the lake at this point. Bremen is in the southwest corner of the lake, and as if you move north, you're closer into the center entirely. So there are fewer large pieces of ice. There are a lot of ice flows here, but there isn't. I don't imagine, unless you guys want to get closer to shore, you could try that. The problem when you get closer to shore is that the water near shore is frozen. It's just a solid block of ice, and you can't really get to shore. You could like depart on the ice, but there's not like a good inlet to hang into, nothing like that.
Right.
Is it normal to spend hour on water and not catch anything? I'm new to this, so
Yeah, usually when we go out, it's we spend most of the time drinking, and maybe over 6 hours you'll catch one or two. So we're doing okay so far.
oh great.
Hmm. They told us the monster was rather big, did they not?
To be fair, I can't remember if we got physical description of monster when we asked about it. All I heard was monster, and I got excited. You kinda hear the word monster, and you think, oh, it will be obvious when you see monster.
It might be hanging out further in the deeper parts. We can head that way. There might be more fish over there.
Sounds like a win-win situation. Let's try that.
Well, the fact that it did not attack us and did not seem as big as I had imagined leads me to believe this is either an offspring or the story's been exaggerated.
Or monster knows champion of Bahamut on board this boat and knows to stay clear.
So then it shows intelligence, which means it probably has a sense of right and wrong, which means we could hopefully communicate in some way. I do not believe it to be a monster, though, simply an animal within its territory.
You may be right.
And I'll start rowing the boat in a new direction.
All right. Laja, if you can make that check for me again, please. It's just a wisdom check.
I feel like the more of these I make, the more likely it's gonna go wrong, but
But not this time. You've managed to navigate your way through the ice flows. I'm going to move you guys up a little bit, somewhere like here. So I'm going to say you've kind of made your way closer to Targos, so you've headed eastern more. And as you've gotten closer to Targos, I can give you just a few more details. There are a lot of sailing boats, not just like small boats, but larger fishing boats that are on the water here as you get closer to Targos. So Targos has the same issue that Bremen has, in that as you get closer to shore, the ice is just solid. So most of the dock, you can tell, is frozen, but people have broken their boats out and dragged them across. But Targos looks to be much more built up, as far as there's lots more fishing boats, lots more people on the water, and the town itself is surrounded by like a wooden wall, and that extends actually into the dock area as well. You aren't in Targos, but you can see it better now. It's not just points of light anymore.
Are there any obvious signs of a monster?
None that you can tell. You don't see the dark shape in the water.
I guess Rogar will attempt to fish again.
Virion will cast out too.
If you guys can give me that survival check, let's see what happens.
we need to come back with at least one fish, guys.
Yeah.
So Rorgar, again, you've managed to almost tangle yourself up in your line. But Virion and Laja, you guys actually managed to pull. You've got your lines in the water for a while. This is another hour that's passed, but it's kind of slow going at first. But then let's deal with Virion first. Virion, you get a sharp tug on your line.
Oh,
If you can
this
give
could be
me
it.
a strength athletics check, please.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Someone's going for a swim.
Oh dear. Okay. So immediately what happens is you feel a tug on the line and then a strong, sharp pull. Like it is a pull you were completely unexpected. You were not waiting for at all. Can you give me a dexterity check, please?
Jeez.
Dexterity saving throw. This is probably okay. You're safe. So what happens is you feel a kind of a tear, and then you notice your line goes loose, and as you continue to pull back, your line comes out and it's been torn by the fish. And you almost went in the water before this tear happened, but you managed to regain your balance and not go in. But it looks like not only did you lose the fish, but it also broke your line.
True, that might have been the monster. That's bigger than any fish I've ever pulled up before.
Elijah, as this is happening, you also feel a tug on your line. If you can give me a strength athletics check, please.
Oh no.
Oh dear. I'm also going to need a dexterity check from you, please, Elijah.
Guys, I think we found the monster. I think
Oh,
we found
dear.
the monster.
So Nick, as you're watching what's happening with Virion, you feel a tug and you're holding on. Then all of a sudden, before you even know it, you're in the water. And guys, you're kind of paying attention to Virion because Virion almost goes off the side of the boat, and then you hear splash, and you look over, and Laja is in the water.
I'm gonna try and
What
help
an
her out.
interesting turn of events.
I would like to try to swim, but I will say I don't think that Laja is good at swimming.
Can I
Fortunately,
attempt to grab her before she sinks too deeply?
Sure. So, Laja, tell me, what would you have been carrying with you? So I imagine you didn't have any like weapons or any gear equipped, like actually in your hands, but you're wearing armor and stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, that would probably make me pretty heavy and hard to pull out. Oh no. I
Yeah,
just
I've
did the
taken a
math,
look.
guys. Math, not great.
Scale mill, shield, warhammer. Yeah,
Heavy.
I imagine that's probably all stuff you had on you. So you're probably gonna sink like a rock.
Yeah, it's okay. You
Yep.
got. Oh well, okay.
I was thinking about this earlier too.
No.
So I'll make an offer to you, Laja. You're gonna have to make a strength check to see if you can hold yourself up in the water. If you drop something, if you don't drop anything, and I'd say dropping would be either your armor, your shield, or your warhammer. If you keep all of those things attached to you, you'll have disadvantage on this check. If you drop one of them, you'll just have a normal roll. If you drop two of them, you'll have advantage.
Guy's guardian is 460 pounds if he is in full gear. Ouch.
Guys, why did we decide to do this? I hate this decision.
No,
Well-
it's
I like
fun
my
trip.
things.
It bonding
We're-
trip on water.
We're trying to help her out too. Aren't we granted advantage? Because we're assisting.
I don't think so, because I think the way this happened was that Virion drew your attention first, and Laja kind of was a surprise.
Yeah, well, like you were using the oars to reach out down to her. I'm reaching my arm.
Oh, at the first sound of the splash, Rorgar is not even considering that she might be in danger. He's laughing. Ah, friend fall in water. That's funny.
I'm gonna
And
drop
I'm
my
still
shield.
reeling from falling back.
How about this, Guardian? If you if you immediately respond and use your aura to try to help Lasha get out of the water, I'll let her have a +2 bonus.
All right, I'll use my ore.
But Lasha, what you're gonna have to do is it'll be a strength check, and like I said, depending on what you continue to hold on to, will determine if you have disadvantage, just a normal check, or advantage.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop my shield.
Okay. So you keep your warhammer and your armor on. If you can just give me a normal strength check with a +2 because Guardian is helping you.
No.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
You got inspiration?
I do have inspiration. Can I use my inspiration, please?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you for the reminder.
Oh, dear.
The reminder.
Oh dear. So Lasha, as you slip under the water, you start to realize that this is actually a pretty difficult situation. I think you're gonna have to make this check again, but I'm gonna say, yeah,
But the
unless
thing is, how am I supposed to? I was thinking about getting rid of my armor, but I don't think I can get rid of my armor that fast.
GM,
No, it takes like a minute or something.
Yeah.
Scale mail might take even longer.
Guardian jumps into water.
okay, if
We're
Guardian
all gonna drown.
if he jumps in the water, he's gonna sink like a rock.
That's, you know what? As the moment he starts going down, he's going to try and grab her and like just throw her up, like just through sheer strength, trying to shove her out of the water. Momentum, yeah.
Okay. Then I'll give Lasha an advantage on the next roll to see if she can get out of the water. But Lasha, if you can give me a strength save again, please.
They got advantage.
I don't want to roll this. Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
God. You're
All right.
slowly, incrementally gone up.
I'm just drowning. I'm just drowning.
I'm going to
Why
give
did
her
I
my
say I could
inspiration. I'm
swim?
giving you my inspiration.
Well, she already had advantage, so it's not gonna do any good.
Oh, can't you? Oh, damn it. I was hoping for a reroll.
Virian's gonna start prepping some rope, tying it to the boat and himself, and preparing to jump in.
So Guardian, I don't think there's any way that you can make a check here to see if he can swim. I mean, well, okay, why don't we try it? You do have a pretty good strength score, so why don't we try
Oh,
it
no,
for you?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I can hit the ground. I'll be fine at the bottom.
You're gonna do the whole data thing and walk on the bottom of the water.
Yes. I don't need to breathe.
Does cold
You're
hurt
just
you
gonna
though?
walk along the
Cold does
bottom
hurt
until
Guardian.
You get back.
I checked. He is susceptible to cold.
Yes.
You might have to rage.
Yeah.
Beat up some fish.
Start punching the fish.
I'll can I give Viri an advantage by like instead of him tying it to the rope, I'm holding the rope and I'm ready to pull on that rope as soon as I feel the resistance.
Yeah, I think you guys could work through that. Guardian, why don't you give me a strength check?
Just a strength check?
Let's see. You were trying to throw Raja out of the water. Yeah.
Not enough.
That is unfortunately not enough.
Inspiration. To roll again.
Yeah. You guys are
Oh,
consistent.
Sorry, it looks like you're dead. Can't help you.
All right, so Guardian, you're starting to sink. Lasha, you're definitely sinking in the water. Virian and Wargar, you guys have quickly managed to put together like a rope that you can throw into the water to someone, but you can only throw it to one person before we do this next check.
I'm holding onto the end that's on the boat, so it's up to Virian.
I'm gonna toss it to Lasha, just because that would have been the first thing that we would have, or the first person we would have seen go overboard. So that would have been the reaction to the panic.
Okay. So Lasha, you are scrambling in the water as you're beginning to sink further and further. So you'll have disadvantage at this point unless you drop your Warhammer, but you could do another strength check, and if you succeed on the strength check, that will mean that you've grabbed the rope and you can start to pull yourself up.
I mean, I will drop my hammer. I don't think I can physically drop my armor, so
Yeah, I think
that
your
is
armor's
what
stuck
I
to you.
can do. So that's another normal roll.
Yes.
It'll be funny if you end up with a 5.
That is enough. As you're scrambling in the water, Elijah, you do manage to loop your arm around the rope, and the guys pull you up out of the water. And Virian and Rorgar, you pull up a very wet, unhappy dwarf from the water, and as she lands into the boat, she's just totally soaked. But Gurdian, as he's a black shape sinking further and further underwater.
Is there anything we can do?
I have an idea. This might be ridiculous, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Can I tie some rope around an arrow and shoot it straight down near Guardian?
I think you
and
can.
hopefully it'll pass them by.
I like this plan. Sure. Why don't we do it this way? Why don't you make an attack roll, and if you hit Guardian's AC, that means you will have gotten it close to him.
I will, as he does this, Rorgar will clutch his holy symbol and say a quick prayer to Bahamut, and I will actually cast Bless. Would you say Gurdian is 30 feet away by this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's within
so
30
that means
feet.
he's within, so everyone gets the benefit of Bless. Except for myself.
What does that add?
It's an extra D4 to any attack rolls or saving throws for the next minute.
Do I happen to see a shield and warhammer drift past me?
You don't. Sorry. All right. So as
They
you're sinking,
probably go just as fast as you.
yeah. So as you're sinking in the water, Guardian, you see an arrow enter the water with a rope tied to the end of it, and it kind of whizzes right by your eyes as it continues down in the water, and you can easily reach out and grab it.
I reach out and grab it and like twist my arm around it a bunch of times and start to pull.
So everyone who would like to help, because I imagine Guardian probably weighs a lot, you're going to have to work
60 pounds.
I'm sorry, how much?
With his armor and everything in his pack, he's 460 pounds.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I imagine all of you will have to work together to get him out into the boat.
Yep.
He does have wood, so, a bit of buoyancy.
Let me think about this. All of you guys can make a strength check, and let's see, the total score that you're going to need to get from this check is going to be, let's say 35 total.
Can I argue for it being an athletics check?
Yeah, athletics check is fine. Yeah, strength, athletics, and as long as your rolls all total up collectively to a 35, then you'll pull him out of the water.
Am I rolling too?
I don't think so, Guardian. But you don't need to worry about it because
Hey.
collectively all three of your friends managed to pull you out of the water, and as you're pulling up from like you managed to get into the boat without tipping the boat over, I'd say because they did so well in their checks. But Guardian, because you were in the water so long, you take 1 point of exhaustion.
Okay. Where is that represented on the sheets?
Okay,
That's a
I
good
will
question.
reveal this to everybody else. I'm very thankful for the secret that I rolled because I have cold resistance.
I was gonna say, Elijah, apart from almost drowning, you're fine as you've gotten up. Your clothes are wet, but you don't feel any discomfort from the cold.
Well, I wasn't expecting to drown today, but I should have.
It's always on the table.
Imagine when Guardian gets back on the boat, like just water pours out of him from like different crevices inside his body onto the boat. He just sits back down, grabs his little wood knife, and goes back to carving.
So a little bit on exhaustion. Unfortunately, exhaustion is pretty rough. So you're gonna have disadvantage, Guardian, on all ability checks until you can take a long rest. Basically, once you take a long rest, that'll go away.
Okay.
Guardian, that cold in that water kind of pierced you all the way through your being, I'd say. Like it was so cold, like you started to lose the ability to even move your limbs. So as you've gotten back out of the water, of course you can start to dry off and everything, but that cold still lingers, and that's where that exhaustion comes from.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I don't think anybody caught any fish with that.
That's the real tragedy here.
No, I don't think so.
Question. Technically, they were fishing when they're trying to save me. I was the bait on the line.
There you go.
This fishing seems like a very fun game.
This is usually how it goes.
I will never do this again.
I got my backpack on me, so I reach back there and pull out a great club and hand it to Lasha. Don't know if you can use this, but here.
Thank you. I kind of had to leave most of my stuff behind to get back out. But I'm happy to be out. I'd rather be up here than at the bottom.
I think sadly, Laja, I was just thinking about it. I think your shield was your holy symbol too, wasn't it?
No, it was not.
Oh, good.
I just painted
Good.
on it.
Good. Good.
That would be awful.
My holy symbol is a pendant.
Good. But as you're all sitting there in the boat, kind of regaining your wits, dark shape again flows by the boat and splashes just a little bit of water. You see it's a large fin again from your friend, the Plesiosaurus, as he glides by.
Is he going in any particular direction, or is he just circling us?
He's just kind of swimming by you.
I'll put my hand back in and just wiggle my fingers around.
It's close enough that you could actually attack it if you wanted to, but it's still a little too far for you to reach out and touch unless you were actually trying to like grapple it.
Nope, just wanted to see how it reacts with the water being wiggled around.
Strange this creature seems to follow.
What rations? Do we have fish rations on us? Or any fish food?
I mean, you guys have bait for the Knucklehead Trout?
But no actual trout itself.
No.
I'm going to try and fish.
Okay.
If we still have a line.
Yeah, you do. Even though the line was torn, Varian's line was torn, it's still, you can still use it. There's enough line to then like rebuild it and drop it back in the water.
Friend, if you can untangle me, you can have mine.
Just look at him for a moment, then slowly rotate his head back forward. Survival?
Yeah, and as you get started again, the Plesiosaurus sinks back in the water and its dark form disappears.
It's a 6.
Unfortunately, you don't get any bites at all, Guardian. I'm assuming you guys are keeping the boat here. You're not moving further anywhere else.
If he's making an attempt, that means we're sitting here for a little while.
Yeah.
So I'll make another attempt if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. It's a survival check.
I'll do the same.
Hey, not bad.
Hey. So Rorgar and Virian, you guys both have a bite. So Rorgar, let's deal with you first. If you can give me a strength check.
Save?
Yeah, strength save is fine. Yeah, unfortunately, you feel the tug of the fish. It's a strong tug. You've kind of seen how this can go poorly, so you had your feet planted, so you're not pulled into the water. It's a really strong tug, and then you notice it goes limp, and it looks like the fish has broken his way free. but you're not pulled into the
Ah.
water.
I do not enjoy this fishing activity at all.
Did you just say it was fun?
Yes, I did. And now I am saying otherwise.
Hmm.
But Virion, if you can give me that strength save against the trout here to see if you can pull him in the water.
All right.
Unfortunately, I'm rolling very well tonight. You have it's a fight, like it's a battle that goes on for almost a minute. You know, he's pulling very strongly, you're pulling back, and there's that back and forth as you're trying to tire him out. But unfortunately, after a while, he seems to work his way free, and the line goes limp again.
Friends, I
Or-
have no idea. Next time, instead of me fishing, I am terrible at this, I see. I will help you pull fish out of water. And what I'm saying is I'll if I can, if you'll let me, instead of me fishing, I'll just give an assist when someone tries to pull the fish out.
Yeah, that
Okay.
works. So it's about 1 o'clock now. You guys have been out maybe 3 hours. And you know from your experience here in the Dale that you have maybe another hour before it becomes dark, which would mean that it becomes dark around 2 o'clock. But that's just the reality of where you are now. But you guys know you have about another hour on the water before it becomes, it's dim light now. After an hour, it's going to become dark.
Guardian's gonna. Like, I'm assuming he was fishing for an hour, so it's been like about an hour and a half after the whole water incident. So after he was done fishing or trying to, he's just gonna stay still for however long you'll allow him to.
Okay.
Inactive, as it were.
Elijah, are we taking the boat anywhere?
I'm thinking Yeah, I think probably once it starts getting darker, I don't want to be in the middle of the quote unquote night. So I'll start bringing us slowly towards the direction that we came, but we will see how that goes.
Okay. And as you turn the boat away from your old position, you're heading, I guess, back towards Bremen. A cold wind starts to blow in across the lake, and the waters, which were normally just crystal clear and still, begin to get choppy, and you guys are starting to bounce in the boat as waves begin to form, and the ice floes, which were stationary, become more concerning because they're actually moving now with the water. So basically what that means, Laja, is I need you to do another check for me, another wisdom check. At disadvantage, though, because avoiding these ice flows is going to be much more difficult.
We'll see how this goes.
Unfortunately, you strike one of the ice flows,
No.
and your boat takes some damage.
Ah, it is but a scratch. We will buff it out.
Yeah, so what happens is, as you're making your way across the water, Laja, one of the ice flows that you didn't even see seems to come up with one of the waves and strike the side of the boat. There's a loud sound as you can see, the scratching of the wood and some splinters off of the side of the boat. You're not taking on water, and the boat is still capable. It's just it has taken some damage.
Ah, friend, it's no problem. We got insurance, didn't we?
No, I think we talked our way out of that one.
Oh, you might be right.
Plus, we
He's
have no
fine.
fish. Okay, I'm gonna keep trying to get through these ice flows around them.
Okay. I imagine you're headed in for Bremen at this point. So this is kind of your last hour on the boat before you would get back into the Bremen docks. So if you can roll another check for me, wisdom check at disadvantage, unfortunately, because of the choppy conditions. Wow. Okay.
What are the chances of four eights?
And you did it before too.
4 eights.
That's awesome.
So how this happens is, again, the boat takes more damage from the ice flows, and as you're steering, you see the docks towards Bremen as you're getting closer, Elijah. It's getting dark though, as the sun, the non-visible sun has to be, dipping away as the dim light of the Icewind Dale is vanishing into darkness. So it's hard to even see at all, and one of the ice flows must have just been out of view. But as you're turning to get into Bremen, there's another jolt on the side of the boat as one of the large pieces of ice hits it, and it actually tears off a small bit of the bow, and there's like a big chunk of wood that's missing, that's been cleaved away from this ice. But as you've pulled in to the Bremen docks, let's see, I'm going to move you guys back to this one. As you approach the docks, Grinsk, he's got a lantern that he's holding up to guide you to where you need to take the boat. And as you get closer, he grabs the rope and he ties it off to an anchor point on the dock. And he looks at the ship and he says, "Oh, my beautiful boat, what have you done?"
Ah, friend, it is pleasure to see you again. Our fishing trip was very informative.
Well-
As Garden gets off the boat, I just walk past Grint and I just stick a gold in his hand.
And Grinsk takes the gold and looks at it, and he looks at you, Guardian. Let's say probably there's probably ice that's formed on your body. Like the water that, like your body was probably wet as you pulled out of the water, but it's frozen into little icicles that have dripped, like the water that was dripping off of you froze into that. And he just kind of looks at you, and he looks at the coin. And he's like, "Thanks, friend. That will cover the damage. How many fish did you catch?"
Yeah,
I'm
about
just
that.
walking past.
It is not about the number of fish you catch, but the friends you make along the way. Right?
Yeah. What he said.
Sure. Did you make any friends with any fish?
We made a friend with a philandering man from Targos. He was a real jerk. He made us get out of his fishing spot, and I'm quite positive he's the reason why no one fishes out here from Bremen. He's spread rumors about a monster here. He's the only monster to worry about, so feel free to go out there. Probably nothing's going to happen. You'll be fine.
Yes, he even admitted his wife, evil monster that should be slayed. Wait, I might be misremembering this.
And Grinsk looks at you,
He
Elijah.
said, he said no. He said no to slaying monster, but he did not dispute her being evil.
That's one of the most unusual fishing stories I've ever heard. And what happened to you?
Who's he talking to?
He's talking to Elijah.
Well, let's just say the trout were much stronger than I expected them to be.
A common mistake. Some fishermen like to use nets, but the trout break the nets all the time. Let me guess. You hooked one and it pulled you in the water.
Yes, and then we didn't catch any because they were much stronger than we anticipated.
And he puts his hand over to his face. That's what I get for hiring amateurs.
Ah, stout friend, why you could have come with us to ensure success on this journey.
I'm not exactly a fisherman.
Ah, me neither.
Just a recreational boater with all these crafts, huh?
And he looks down at his feet and kind of stammers. Sort of a secret. I can't swim.
I mean, it's not
No.
really swimming water here anyway, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yes, nothing to be ashamed of, friend. If Bahamut wished you to swim, you would swim.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to find someone who can fix 2 boats now.
We also saw some sort of creature, very large, long neck, but it did not seem to be the monster. It had no evil intention.
Huh. Are you sure it wasn't a Knucklehead Trout?
It did not look like a knucklehead trout. We ate one yesterday. I would know difference.
How large exactly are these knucklehead trout?
They get fairly large. So they can weigh up to about 70 to 50 pounds. So they're pretty huge. I imagine they're probably maybe like 3 or 4 feet. I actually have a handout I can show you guys.
Well, this was definitely much larger than that.
Less delicious looking.
Give us some friendly splashes.
Well, I've not seen a monster. I've certainly seen my number of fish. And he's pointing to you, Elijah, did you happen to see a monster when you were swimming in the water?
To be honest, everything underwater was darker than it was above the surface. And it's not really that bright here during the day either.
No. Welcome to the Dale. And he looks to you, Guardian. Well, friend, I guess thanks for the damages, the money to cover the damages, I suppose. I imagine you'll want to go back to the buried treasures to thaw off.
I just turn and look at him.
Cora will be disappointed, of course, but with Torga traveling through here soon, I imagine we'll be able to get fish in other ways, just much more than we'd like to spend.
My
Yes,
apologies.
I would not mind going back to a warm place.
Grunt says, well, how about this? There'll be time to fix boats tomorrow. I could use a drink myself.
You lead, we follow.
Yes, yes. And how about this? Drinks are on you, huh?
First drink on me. Yes.
And as he leads all of you back to the tavern, The tavern at this point is filled really with people, other villagers. They're mostly quiet, kind of keeping to themselves, but grins because he walks in, orders a round of drinks, and he makes sure to let Cora know that it's on you guys' tab and not his. But as Cora brings the drinks around, she comes over to your table and she says, "Well, how'd the fishing go?"
It was wet
was
and
a-
cold.
Yes, it was a very interesting experience that I do not wish to ever do again in my whole entire life.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. We were really looking forward to getting some of those trout. We have other ways of getting them, but out of the water themselves here in Bremen is the cheapest option for me.
I was just very disappointed that there was talk of monster, and I did not see no monster.
Well, I can assure you, friend, the monster is very real.
Okay, can you give me a physical description of monster? Tip to tail, what are we talking?
Well, Aimwolf has said that it was the size of a barn, had razor sharp teeth, and it tore his boat in half, and, well, it is responsible for Aimwolf going in the water, and let's just say he was very lucky to make it back alive.
Yes, and we talked to Amulf, and he did seem to have encountered something. But what we saw, I did not witness razor sharp teeth. I did not witness a creature willing to tear through both.
Well, perhaps
At
you were
least
lucky.
without provocation.
And Virion, as you're having this conversation, off in the corner, that older dwarven woman who has just mostly been, every time you've been in the tavern, she's been at this one table smoking a pipe. She looks at you and motions for you to come over.
All right. I'll walk over and see what she's about.
And as you sit down at her table, you notice the only thing she has is just one goblet of ale in front of her that hasn't really even been drunk at all. Like, it's just sitting there. And she's been watching all of you guys as she has done in the past as you've walked in. But as you sit down, she looks at you and she passes you a pin. It looks like a pendant across the table. And as she does, the firelight catches it, and you notice it's a small silver pin, and the pin it's a shape, the sign of a musical note. And she says to you, "All beings should walk free of fear." And that is one of the tenets of the Harpers.
Oh.
She says, "If I'm not mistaken, I heard that you were coming."
You heard correct. Are you preparing for some kind of uprising in this town here?
And she kind of motions. She says, "We have much to discuss. Would you like a drink?"
For the day on the water we had, I could absolutely use a drink.
She kind of nods to Cora, and Cora goes off to, get you a drink. And she says, "So you braved the lake monster, and you returned with all of your limbs."
Well, not much of a monster to combat out there. I'm pretty sure it's just some guy who's cheating on his wife who's scaring off all the local fishermen here.
You must be referring to Walda.
One and the same.
He is mostly boast and bravado. Not much to worry about.
There's no fear on that water, though.
He has a fool's courage.
Know what that's like?
I came to the Dale in order to retire. I spent a lifetime as a bounty hunter in Neverwinter. I thought this would be a quiet place to come, but now learning about the Frost Maiden's curse and the host of troubles that have come to the Dale, This is certainly not a place for quiet retirement.
You heard something?
Have you heard about the curse?
I don't believe I have.
Well, you may have noticed that the days here are very short, and even then they are dark. This whole land has been cursed by the Frost Maiden, the god Oriel.
I think we talked to some woken animals who may have mentioned something like that.
That's just one bit of mystery that's been happening in the Icewind Dale. Animals have been awakening. Not always something unusual to happen occasionally, but the frequency of the awakenings is certainly strange.
Does this sound like the work of the Arcane Brotherhood to you?
It is possible.
Some type of magic? Wizards, no doubt, might be behind it?
It is possible. I must admit I don't know anything about the motivations to why these animals, which appear to be random,
And
your
friendly.
owl companion did not seem to be malicious.
He was pretty all right. Even the other animals we ran into, they were, very friendly, very hospitable to a fault even.
Have you learned about the sacrifices?
No, what sacrifices?
And she sighs, and at this point, Cora comes over with a drink, and you notice that the dwarf, who I forgot to mention, introduced herself as Helene Trollbane. Helene, she waits for Cora to walk away before she continues. The sacrifices. So the elders of the 10 towns got together and came up with a plan to appease the Frost Maiden. As the grip of winter continues, even past the season, the 10 towns have grown more desperate. Travelers have stopped coming. Supplies have become meek. Food has become scarce. So each of the 10 towns has offered up, once every new moon, a sacrifice to the Frost Maiden. Some towns, the poorer towns like Bremen, offer a sacrifice of warmth. So on that night, no fire may be lit, and all the residents of Bremen go cold. Now, some of the other towns, Lonelywood, for example, give the offering of food. So they offer up some of their very valuable food to the wilderness for the Frost Maiden's minions to take. And finally, some of the towns offer up a mortal sacrifice. There are 3 towns in particular, East Haven, Targos, and Bryn Shandor, that do this. Whether it's been effective or not, I can't say, but once a month the sacrifices happen.
Wow. This is awful news to hear. That people have to give up their lives to appease some sort of maiden.
Well, I have even more troubling news. In the 3 towns that do the mortal sacrifices, there have been a string of murders. Targos, Bryn Shandor, and East Haven. 3 cold-blooded murders. A halfling trapper in East Haven, a human shipbuilder in Targos, and 3 days ago, a dwarf glassblower in Bryn Shandor. Now, murders happen in the Dale. That would not normally draw of note, but what is of note is each of the 3 murders happened the same way. Reports were that the victims were killed with a dagger of ice through their hearts, and when investigated, the daggers each melted to water. Now, it's
Perfect
unlikely.
crime.
It's very likely, considering where the murders have taken place, this is related to the sacrifices.
For the people who were murdered, were they anyone of note? I know you said that they sounded like they were pretty common people, but is there anything about them that would have made them targets for murder?
Unfortunately, I don't know much more than that. And she kind of shifts in her chair and she moves, and you notice that she's actually, her left leg is a wooden stump. She has a peg leg. And she says, again, I moved here to retire, so unfortunately I haven't been able to make my way through the 10 towns in the speed in which I'd like. So I don't know what your mission here is, but these murders are obviously being committed by the same person. It's the last thing the 10 towns need. These sacrifices are bringing all of the towns, particularly those 3, every month right at the edge of anarchy. And whoever it is obviously has a reason. If you can discover who it is, you'll be doing the 10 towns a favor. And also, and she drops a purse on the table, and there's a loud clunk of coin as she does, I will give you 100 gold pieces if you can find the murderer and, well, deal with them.
All right. I believe my mission will take me to Bryn Shandor soon, so I'll investigate this matter further. Is there any other contacts you could maybe put me in touch with so I can gather a little more information?
I know Bildora is in Bryn Shandor. She was investigating the Zentarum, and she believes that there is connections in the Dale, but I have not heard from her in quite some time.
All right. I'll be sure to keep an eye out for her when we get there.
And also, if you're going to travel east of Bryn Shandor, it will be difficult. The road is out before you reach Targos. There was once a bridge that crossed the river that has been damaged. The way is perilous.
All right. Well, that's good to know. You've survived going overboard in the icy waters, so bridge being out will hopefully not impede our travels too much.
Indeed. I hope to hear from you soon about a resolution to these murders. We still are about a month away from the next new moon, but I have no doubt that the murders will continue.
All right. Well, let's hope we can get this sorted out by then. Virian's gonna walk back to the table, nodding at Helena as he saunters back.
Ah, friend, you missed the last round of shots. They served an interesting drink that seemed to leave a strange tingling sensation on my throat.
You didn't save one for me?
It seemed strange to leave it sitting on table.
That's fair. I would have done the same thing.
You seem to have interesting conversation with the friend on other side of the bar.
Oh yeah, she liked the way my bow looked and wanted to know who made it, so I just gave her a little bit of info.
Ah, that is an interesting conversation to have, and I wish I had conversations similar to that.
I think someone will compliment your piece someday soon.
Ah, you're too kind, friend. Ah, I wish I hadn't drank your drink.
That's okay. You can get me another one.
Yes, I can. Cora, more drinks. Give us a more interesting drink. Something that tingles instead of burn.
And she kind of looks up and she says, and she makes her way silently over to your table and she says, I didn't know exactly how to broach this, but if you didn't bring me back any fish, then you're going to need to start paying.
That is okay.
We are happy to pay for the services rendered. I know we were supposed to come back with fish and it didn't work out today, but that happens sometimes.
And he says, "Well, it's not something I like to harp on, but times are sort of tough. And in fact, the gentleman who was here before, the half elf, sort of sprang and didn't pay for their room. He left early this morning."
You're saying that Tali is a jerk?
I try not to be too judgmental in these hard times, but they left early this morning with like a large box, and they seem to be in quite a fuss. So I could tell there was some urgency there, and they left without paying.
He left with the bird, the owl.
I didn't see a bird, but the box was quite noisy.
Wait. That does not sound like good thing. If he... I hope he did not capture Ollie.
Far be
Guardian
it for
can
me
hear
to
that
lay
conversation, right?
accusations, but he is very interested in those awakened creatures.
Guardian can hear this conversation, right?
Yeah.
He left before we awoke.
Yes, he left before first light.
Did you happen to see the direction?
I think, now, of course, he did not travel on the road, but it looked like he was heading north, so probably around the lake near direction of Lonelywood.
And what sounds did this box make?
Loud scratching sounds, perhaps? I admit I didn't give it too much thought. I was mostly distressed about his expediency to exit and not pay me.
We're going to have to find him.
How much does this I want to say friend, but I guess not friend. How much does this individual owe?
Well, he's managed about a whole gold piece. That includes accommodation, food, and drink.
I do not wish a small business owner to be left out in lurch. So I will pay, and I will make sure to get my gold piece back from Tally when I see him. And I pass Cora a gold piece.
And she takes it and she says, "Oh, thank you so much for your generosity. I didn't mean to complain and put my troubles on you. It's just, I am aware that my generosity sometimes has been to my own detriment."
No, of course not. It's reasonable to want to keep the lights on here. Let us know how much it will cost for our accommodations as well, and we'll be happy to cover it.
Yes, of course. I think for all of you, it will cost 5 silver total.
This, I whispered to everyone else. This is problem. I only have gold piece. I have 3 gold piece. I have no silver.
I'll just give her a gold piece.
So Rogar's that guy when you go out to eat says that you have to cover his check because he doesn't have exact change.
That's fine. I'm covering it. Plus, she's struggling, so
I'm pretty sure last time I also gave her gold for nothing, so I think we're even.
But Cora draws you a quick map of the path that Tali could have taken if he was going to Lonelywood, and I'll drop you guys on the map so you can see what I'm talking about. You are in Bremen. There is not an exact road that goes from Bremen to Lonelywood. What she thinks he was doing was probably traveling like west and north, so something like here, and then following the river, and then figuring out a way to cross, and then come back down. There's no other direct way apart from taking a boat that would take you straight to Lonelywood.
Hmm.
But the direction she saw him heading in north, he's either headed across the tundra, which there's nothing really there, or he was headed to Lonelywood.
To me, it seems simple. Ollie and friends did us favor and shelter us from storm. We owe Ollie, and we should go find Ollie.
Agreed. How about the rest of you?
Yeah.
Would we want to head
Raleigh.
on land like we think he would have had?
I doubt.
I would prefer not to travel by boat because today was not fun.
I doubt he would.
We wouldn't be able to return the boat if we were headed all the way out there.
Hmm.
So I guess head
Cora,
on
what
foot
would be
and
the fastest? Yes.
Let me measure how long this would take. One moment. It would take approximately probably 12 or 15 hours by foot to get to Lonelywood. That's also 15 hours traveling through the snow because there's no road. If there were like no snow and there were a road, you could do it in half that time. But this is the difficult terrain of traveling through, the weather, the conditions, the snow to make it. And this is like going around the lake.
Are there sleds we can rent?
Cora actually says, if you're going to travel that far in the snow, I'd recommend at least snowshoes to make your lives easier. You could always try to rent a dog sled. Of course, dogs, you will have to feed them and such. That could be even more difficult. There's really no one here that sells, axe beaks or the like to get through this kind of weather. Of course, Torga's caravan should be here in a few days, and she typically sells beasts of burden for travel through the snow. But I would recommend at least snowshoes.
And where can we acquire these?
That's what she was saying. Well, snowshoes you could get from Amwolf's shop.
Guardian stands up and heads up the door, goes to the shop to pick up some snowshoes for everyone.
Cora, is this is Airwolf shop still open at this time of day?
So it's probably about 3 o'clock. Yeah, he'd be open.
Then Rogar will follow.
And I'll tag along.
So are you guys going to head out immediately, or did you want to stay the night here?
I think we have to stay for Guardian's.
I only need 6 hours.
There you go.
If it's stream, I stay still for 6 hours. It's 9. We can move during the night. He's probably asleep. Give us some time to catch up. I doubt he's hoofing his ass at hard too, so maybe he's not as far as we think. This is the player thinking out loud.
If
He
you
has a full day on us, so we should probably get going.
he'd have about 6 hours ahead of you. Yeah.
So I could stay in a sled if someone wants to pull me. Stay still for 6 hours, but you're pulling me then. Downhill travel would be amazing, though.
I don't know if we can pull you very well.
But that's an idea. That's what I was hoping there was a vehicle. I could just sit in the back for like 6 hours.
With
How-
snowshoes, you guys can make it in about 10 hours.
Okay. Because I have to have 6 hours of uninterrupted, motionless to recover. How much do other snowshoes cost, by the way?
Aimwolf gives you the discount, let's say 5 copper per pair.
And it's what, 10 silver? Or no, 10 EP for 1 silver, and then what, 10 silver for 1 EP?
Yeah. Yeah.
And 5 pairs. I imagine mine's like just 2 snowshoes kind of strapped together for each foot.
It's 10 copper is 1 silver. 10 silver is 1 gold.
Okay.
And I think currency exchange is probably pretty common here. So like if you only have gold, you can convert it. I don't think that's ever going to be a problem.
And it was 5 copper per snowshoe pair?
Yeah. Yeah. Guardian, he does manage to come up with a ginormous pair of snowshoes for you.
Excellent.
So is the plan to head out immediately, I guess?
Yeah, like what's everyone thinking? Like I'm fine with dealing with an exhaustion point. It's just gonna make things a little harder. But
Are you sure? Because I didn't want to make you have to deal with it if you didn't want to.
I'm fine with it.
In which case, let's see if we can catch up, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. I think.
You guys walk out of Bremen heading north into the darkness of the evening. It's only 3 o'clock, but like I said, the sun set at 2 o'clock, so it's basically already dark. And as you trudge up in your snowshoes heading north, the lights of Bremen fade away as you move further off.